let's look at that. Wow. There you go. That's gorgeous. That is a neat scene. How far can we see?
Now this valley down below us was originally given the name Squaw Valley. That was given that name by the Ute Indians. We call it Echo Valley, and I'll blow the whistle a couple times and you'll see why we call it that.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh, you can. Oh, cool.
Yeah, around the turn of the century, there was as many as 450 working mines in the district. A lot of these mines had steam boilers they used to power their hoists, and steam whistles to signal the shift changes. There were also two different railroads right in this immediate area, and over 50 trains a day sometimes would go through here. And you could hear those whistles as far away as about 10 miles. The mountain range you see way off in the distance there is the Sangre de Cristo range. Some of those peaks are 50 miles from us.
Wow.
Just down in the bottom of the valley here was the town of Barry. You can see that clearing. There was a few hundred people that lived there. Down on around the corner was the town of Mountain City, and about 100 people lived there. Between the two towns to the left of the power lines were two gold processing mills. One was named the Brody, one was named the Rosebud. The foundations for those mills are still down there. Up ahead of the train is where the town of Anaconda once stood. It's now underneath Cripple Creek and Victor Gold Mine. That's their leach pad up there ahead of us. And Anaconda had a population of around 1,500 people.
Wow.
It was the fourth city in the state to have electricity and running water. In 1904, there was a fire that started down in Mountain City. It swept up the valley and destroyed everything, including most of Anaconda. Our railroad station did survive that fire originally, as well as the blacksmith shop that was moved over to right near the beginning of our ride there. The mine you see straight across from us is the El Paso mine. That was open until 1976 when they had a fire in the hoist house, and it burned out part of the shaft as well. Wow. It was never rebuilt after that. During the later years of operation, it was used mainly for mine tours. The El Paso mine is 1,500 feet deep.
Wow.
And has about 33 miles of tunnels in it. And it was one of the biggest producers in this valley right here. It produced $13.8 million worth of gold.
Wow.
Now if you look over to the left a little bit, you'll see that wooden retaining wall above the highway. That's part of the original Mary McKinney retaining wall that was in the town of Anaconda. It used to be about 5 times bigger than that, and they relocated, the mining company relocated part of that. Above that is the Dr. Jackpot head frame. That was also relocated as well. A little further to the left on the hillside there, you can see that old mine. That was the Chicken Hawk mines, number 1 and 2. They were known to be some of the hottest mines in the district, with temperatures up to 120 degrees on some levels. They tried to cool those mines off with a tunnel, and the tunnel is right at the base of the telephone pole. It's below the sorting house there. And you can see how the railroad used to go along right through the trees there and right past the tunnel. Well, the tunnel, after they dug it, was 80 degrees in there year-round, and all the hobos found out about it, and so they jump off the train and go stay in there, and from then on it became called the Hobo Tunnel. Below us here is Highway 67 that goes south to Victor from Cripple Creek and on down the Phantom Canyon to Florence, which is east of Canyon City. That's built on the roadbed of the Florence and Cripple Creek Railroad. That was the first railroad to arrive in the district in 1894, just 6 months ahead of the arrival of the Midland Terminal. It was the most profitable as well. It paid for itself in the first year of operation, but only lasted until 1912. when they had a flash flood down the Phantom Canyon, destroyed 11 bridges and 8 miles of track, and it was never rebuilt. By that time, there were 2 other railroads here in town. The third railroad was the Cripple Creek District Railway, came up from Colorado Springs, and it used to run up on tops of the hills pretty much up above the Chicken Hawk mine over there.
Wow.
That Chicken Hawk mine did produce around $8 million worth of gold.
Wow.
Okay, we'll back up and turn around on the Y that we passed here a little bit ago, and that's the World's Fair mine. And right as we pass it, you'll see a concrete, or right as we get into it, just before we stop, over on the, it'll be right side as we're facing back, there's a concrete cap over the mine there with a grate over the top of it. You can take a look at that. That's World's Fair mine. I'll tell you a little bit about the big mine ahead of us here pretty soon.
That huge thing up there. Is that the
Yeah.
And he says, that mine over there. Oh, there's no sign that says mine.
I didn't find everything he was talking about either.
Is it rocks? Is it what?
The whole
in the ground. Basically a hole in the ground somewhere. And then it became a mine. And I guess on top of all power rocks. I don't know. There were a lot of, there's a lot of
What we
stuff.
see is the line tailings, the left.
Tailings.
They destroyed everything. A lot of stuff. Looks terrible. So they're not going to repair any of that.
They actually, I think, if they're still mining, they'll have to. Which is why they never.
They don't have
That was, oh, I hate that. Because it's right outside of.
Oh, wait, you won't. Yes, we really enjoyed it. We thought that we did. Yeah.
that mine we were in.
Office tunnel goes all the way from where?
That mine we were in was owned by the woman. So maybe they looked at the miners. Of
Oh!
course, I don't know if that's the mine she.
Well,
I mean, not, I mean,
I think it's long ago. Was that winter?
Winter Park.
well, I thought there's probably a lot of superstitions. You know?
Anything's running right.
Particularly at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, they do so little.
Holes, ventilation holes, so that air in as it goes.
And she said the way they knew where to buy
Oh, there's
were the white quartz, white quartz from the volcano. Came up, and that was what was the white. And when they find a pile of them, that's what they did. And she, I said, is that way that they do it today? She said,
Okay, like I said before, the World's Fair mine was just ahead of the train. That's got a concrete cap, and the Bureau of Mine Land Reclamation covered a lot of these mines here over the past years. And there's so many holes out here that people would fall down them.
I would think so.
And when they cover these mines, the bigger ones that have a lot of tunnels or connect to other mines, they leave a grate on top of there that will allow ventilation and also access if somebody had to go down in there for some reason. And it's also bat habitat. A lot of bats live in these mines. Right on this hilltop here, there was about 6 or 7 different mines. Directly behind the train and over the hill, there's a 1,000-foot deep mine called Lone Jack. It's right around this immediate area. If you look over towards the big mine there, this is the Cripple Creek Victor Gold Mine. It's one of the largest open pit gold mines in North America. Their pit is over on the other side of the mountain past the Molly Kathleen mine up there. And they drill down in there and they blast the rock, and then they take it to their crusher, crush it, and mix it with lime. Then they pile it up on top of that mountain. That's called the leach pad. And underneath that whole mountain, before they start piling stuff on it, they put a double layer of black plastic, heavy black plastic. And then they proceed to pile different layers up there, and they have a drip irrigation system that drips cyanide solution through that rock. That cyanide dissolves in the gold, and there's about 20% silver. And then it is caught on the liner, and they catch it in ponds, and then they send it through their building and process the gold out of it. There's also further up above Anaconda, there's a big high-grade mill for all their high-grade ore that you can't process properly with a heap leach process like that. They do employ around 600 people, and last year I think they poured close to 500,000 ounces of gold, and their earnings were close to $500 million.
Wow.
Anyway, the biggest and richest mines from the old days that were here, the richest was the Portland, produced $61 million worth of gold.
Wow.
And the deepest was the Ajax. That was 3,350 feet deep, and it's drained by the Carlton Tunnel, which is a 6-mile-long drainage tunnel that drains a lot of the big mines over in Victor. A lot of those mines over there are over 3,000 feet.
Wow.
Okay, we'll head back towards town, and I'll tell you a little bit more on the way back.
So
What was the
wrong.
biggest?
That's all ore.
The deepest was the Ajax, and what was the biggest?
I can't remember.
I had never heard of it, but I wouldn't have heard of it. So this stuff is from the open pit.
Yeah, it's an open pit.
Right, that's it.
I was wrong. That wasn't a mountain. That's man-made. Well, I was thinking they stripped it off.
Oh, I see what you were thinking. I was thinking of the other.
Yeah.
We were not thinking of any time. But it's all
That's
fine.
actually all man-made pile.
All they blasted it, piled it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then dripped cyanide.
Yeah.
What a process.
And the cyanide brings out the silver and the gold, right? And they can take the rest of
Onto
the
a
way.
plastic liner.
And hopefully you
I
catch,
know.
hopefully you catch the cyanide somewhere.
Tons of rock. I mean,
I don't know.
there must be some plastic liner.
I would love to see that operation.
Far away. Yeah. I'm very by the people. Where are you going? Quick Yorkshire. That's pretty much after the last area. Oh my God, yeah. Do you have any gold mines over there? No, okay.
Drink with mine tailings that they have down here.
Yeah, we just hear the thought now. When your friend says,
When they're digging that deep
"Fucking
in that
you have to
mill,
play it."
Oh, of course you do. I'm telling you that.
Now, as we get to the other end of this mill, if you look up the hillside just ahead of the engine here,
And it's deep.
you'll see it cut in the rocks. I'll slow down just a little bit here. That's called a stope. That's part of the Parker mine, which is around the corner. What they do in a stope is they tunnel underneath the main, then they drill straight up over their head and blast that rock out. And it falls down into the shaft where they may build a structure to catch it or whatever. They'll load it into ore cars and then haul it over the shaft and up the shaft. One of the biggest stopes in the district is in the Crescent mine. That's 1,100 feet long and 400 feet high.
Video and everything's on YouTube. Yeah.
You can find him on YouTube under.
You can find these videos on YouTube.
The richest single find of gold ore up here in Cripple Creek is in the Crescent mine. And that was in the bug. It's spelled B-U-G. It's like a giant geode that was almost the size of a two-car garage.
Wow.
And the walls were discovered with 80% pure gold.
Wow.
In a period of 5 or 6 weeks, they pulled out $1.2 million worth of ore out of there.
Wow.
And they actually bagged it up and loaded it into boxcars and sent it down to Colorado Springs to mill it with armed guards.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Usually have some of these coffee. Is there any near the coffee?
I think I don't know.
He's trying to get a picture.
Don't say it for now.
Oh.
After all that.
But you look for, is it Sleepy Cat Pictures on?
On Facebook. YouTube.
No, she's reading for your books.
Oh, that's on Amazon.
On Amazon. Yeah, if you look
that's it.
for Cat's Tales. When you look for Cat's Tales on Amazon, you'll be able to find his books. But for his videos, it's Sleepy Cat Pictures on YouTube. Sleepy Cat Pictures. Booksy, turn around. Cat's Tales. Yeah. You can find them on Amazon. Yeah.
Some of the older stuff, they have an extra, it's very sad. And the holes and everything up here, oh my gosh.
They decided to go back on Friday when you're at the airport. I'm not looking forward to going back.
Well,
We'll be fortnight on Friday. We came last Friday. Yeah. The mother and father of the lady that was staying with us, they live back in England. And they come over to
That's
the boat.
fine, isn't it?
They came over I'll look for John I've got
Is this Brexit? Is this going to affect your lives?
I'm not sure. I don't think it will really. I think it'll all be sorted out. I think things will work out. There we go. See the camera? See the Yeah, baby.
Garden of the Gods.
Sorry, Garden of the Gods. Oh, that is just We set up from the Stone Bailey and we went round. Those are the two main places that we want to see. We managed to see them.
Towards the left side of town there, you'll see a lot of scars over the streets and a lot of vacant land. This used to all be covered with houses up until World War I. Cripple Creek had a population of about 35,000 people. It was the fourth largest city in the state. The population now is around 1,500.
Wow.
World War I pretty much shut down all the mines up here, and a lot of people left. And you could buy a house for bad taxes. People would come up and buy these houses and disassemble them and take building materials back to Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow.
Build new homes down there with building materials.
Oh.
A lot of Fort Carson Army base, their military housing was built with quite a few of these homes that were up here.
That's quite a low number.
At one time, you could catch a train in Colorado Springs. Come up here in the morning, do your shopping throughout the day at some of the finest department stores in the state, eat at some of the finest restaurants in the state, and then take an evening train back home. The second May company in the country was right here in Cripple Creek.
Oh my gosh.
The cone-shaped mountain you see on the far side of town is Metal Pisgah. The Indians gave it that name. They used to send their smoke signals from the top of that.
Wow.
At the base of the mountain is the Mount Pisgah Cemetery. One of the more notable people that's buried there is Dr. Susan Anderson. She was one of the first women doctors to practice up here in Cripple Creek. And there was a television Hollywood Moon miniseries called Dr. Gwen, Medicine Woman.
I have to watch it. I did too.
See our house?
Or cold.
He's first.
Yeah, he does it all. It's a one-man show.
Yeah, engineers.
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, it's another name. Is it Macy's or did it become? I can't. Macy's. I'm not sure. I'll ask Google.
Now over towards town, the road that's closest to us here used to go underneath the tracks next to the train and on up Poverty Gulch there to the base of the hill in front of us. That was Myers Avenue. That was where Cripple Creek's red light district was. There was about 70 saloons on that street and 35 parlor houses. The most famous of the parlor houses was the Old Homestead. And you can see that building right down here. It's
Which one?
still in existence, but it's now a museum. It's a white building with the red sign on the side of it.
Oh,
The madam there, her name was Pearl DeVere, was so particular about her clientele, she'd check out your bank account. Why you just didn't check in. Well, she died at the age of 30 from a morphine overdose. Her parents found out she really wasn't a seamstress, so they disowned her and refused to pay for the funeral, and the Elks Club decided they'd take care of that. They had a 12-piece marching band playing There'll Be a Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight.
Wow.
In April of 1896, there was a fire down on Myers Avenue. A barmaid and her boyfriend got in a fight, knocked over a kerosene stove, burnt half the town down. One of the surviving buildings was this red building closest to us with the white trim. That was a Colorado Trading and Transfer building. Just 3 days later, another fire started further down Myers Avenue and went the other direction. It was in the Portland Hotel, and it burnt the rest of the town down. Back then, everything was built out of wood.
Oh my
They
gosh.
passed an ordinance immediately after the fire that everything had to be built out of brick in the business district. That's why all the buildings are dated 1896 or within a few years after that. Now in 1990 they did pass limited stakes gambling, and that created another building boom. And all these buildings on Myers Avenue now, except for the Old Homestead, are new buildings. The great big building closest to us is a hotel and casino that was built on what used to be the site of the Grand Opera House. It was one of two opera houses here in Cripple Creek and one in Victor. That was where Jack Dempsey fought a couple of his first professional fights. He was a miner over in Victor in the gold coin mine. George Copeland fought there, and Groucho Marx was there early on in his career with a vaudeville show. It was also the site of the first indoor rodeo in the United States. You know where the parking lot is, this side of it?
Yeah.
Used to be the Zang's Brewery.
Oh my.
And if you look up above it, you can see that copper steeple.
Yeah. Way back there.
That's the Catholic Church. And then over to the left of that is you can see behind the pine trees, there's a big brick building. That was the St. Nicholas Hospital. There used to be 2 hospitals here at one time, and as many as 40 doctors practiced up here. Now we only have 1 doctor, just part-time. Down below that building, you can see the smaller building with the fancy brickwork on it. That's the Gold Mining Stock Exchange. It was the largest this side of the Mississippi River with over $750 million worth of gold stocks sold there.
Wow.
Now up ahead of the train, this is Poverty Gulch. Myers Avenue went up through there. There was also an electric streetcar that used to run up Myers Avenue, clear up around the curve and up on top of the hills there, and on over to Victor. It used to cost 10 cents to ride and ran every hour. That's how a lot of the miners would get to work. Poverty Gulch is where Bob Womack first discovered gold in 1890. He staked his claim just about a mile and a half up the valley, right below the Molly Kathleen mine there. And he called it the El Paso Lode. Then while partying down in Colorado Springs and celebrating, he sold it for $500 and 2 cases of whiskey. The new owners changed the name to the Gold King Mine, and then it ended up producing around $3 million worth of gold. He never did strike it rich after that, although he did have a few different mining claims. He lived in a little log cabin that's just right up the valley. We'll see it when we go forward to the left of the telephone poles up there. Okay, we'll head back to town now. Hope you enjoyed your trip. Thanks for riding with us today.
Thank you.
Is that our goals?
We're just gonna go up and get back.
I think we are, but
Oh, he's gonna back it up.
He's
gonna back it up. Those are old, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it 30? It wasn't, those are 30, oh, there's 1930. Those are DeSoto. Oh, these are those cards. Okay, there's 47.
Off of that. Was it red on? Right, there are the gods.
Let's hope that they still open when we get there.
Yeah. Oh, Victor, that's where Victor is. Right, well, the colours.
They are, aren't they?
That's a big kick-ass rocks.
Mm.
I want to stop there, one. A couple of reservoirs.
Colorado Springs at night.
Country road.